It's so nice to have you here tonight. I'm just lying by the fire, feeling the warmth on my skin, the gentle glow casting soft shadows around the room. I can feel myself getting sleepy already. Maybe you are too. Tonight, we're going to drift together into a quiet, magical Christmas in 1968 Liverpool. So, snuggle in, let the warmth wrap around you. Take a deep breath, close your eyes if you like, and let the story carry us away. The city of Liverpool lay quietly beneath a blanket of snow. It was Christmas Eve, 1968, and the streets glimmered with golden reflections from gas lamps, their halos softened by the mist rolling in from the River Mersey. The docks were silent, the great ships resting like slumbering giants, and the faint cry of a gull echoed across the water, swallowed quickly by the hush of falling snow. Clara wrapped her scarf tighter around her neck as she stepped carefully over icy cobblestones. The air was sharp, carrying hints of salt, coal, and the faint scent of roasting chestnuts from nearby market stalls. Her boots made a soft crunching sound, the rhythm of her steps absorbed into the stillness of the night. This was the kind of quiet that felt like an invitation, a night when the world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for something extraordinary. Clara's heart, heavy with routine and loneliness, seemed to respond to the hush, stirring with a sense of expectation she had not felt in years. She passed familiar streets, Matthew Street, where the echoes of music lingered in alleyways, Bold Street, where shop windows glimmered with tinsel and coloured lights, Castle Street, quiet now, but still alive with distant laughter. Every corner seemed transformed by the snow, every shadow softened by the glow of the street lamps. Her thoughts drifted to childhood Christmases, to mornings filled with laughter, candlelight, and the smell of pine and cinnamon. She remembered running through snowdrifts with her brother, their scarves flying behind them, their boots leaving prints in white powder. She could almost feel that cold against her cheeks again, almost hear the clatter of sleigh bells she had long forgotten. A faint sound broke her reverie, a whisper carried on the wind. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, like the soft creak of a ship's mast, or the murmur of water against the docks. Clara paused, tilting her head, listening. The snow continued to fall, each flake glowing briefly as it caught the light of the lamps. "Is someone there?" she whispered to herself. No answer came, only the hush of the night. Yet the whispering felt real, comforting rather than frightening. It was as though the city itself was speaking, reminding her that magic could still exist, even in places that seemed ordinary. Clara continued walking, drawn forward by a sense of unseen guidance. The quiet streets opened into a small square, where a single lamppost glowed softly, illuminating the thick carpet of snow beneath it. She stopped there, catching her breath, and let her eyes wander over the scene. Every shop window seemed alive tonight, each display a small story. Dolls peered from behind glass, their painted eyes glinting in the lamplight. Brass bells hung from ribbons, tiny stars sparkled on wreaths, and the scent of pine mixed with sugar and spice, reaching her through the crisp night air. Somewhere, close by, She thought she heard music, a soft guitar strummed gently, accompanied by a faint hum. It was distant, almost like a memory, and yet it pulled her forward, as if the sound itself were a guide. She followed it instinctively, her steps slow and deliberate, savouring the feeling of the snow beneath her boots, the quiet warmth of the city around her, and the strange excitement growing in her chest. Clara passed an alley where a small child had left footprints in the snow, tiny imprints that vanished beneath the falling flakes. The child's laughter echoed faintly, though she could see no one. It reminded her of the innocence and wonder she had once carried, a spark of joy she thought had faded long ago. At last she came to the edge of the River Mersey, where the fog hung low over the water, softening the lights from the distant warehouses. Ships rested silently, their masts swaying faintly in the winter wind. Clara pressed her hands into her coat pockets, seeking warmth, but found herself gazing instead at the water, mesmerised by the way it reflected the glow of lanterns and snow. And then she saw it, a faint shimmer moving across the dock, almost like a pulse of light. Her heart quickened. She stepped closer, the snow crunching underfoot, and as she did, a small brass object glinted in the snow. Kneeling down, she picked it up. It was a compass, small, worn by time, its needle spinning lazily before settling on a direction that felt right. She held it close, feeling warmth spread through her fingers. Somehow, she knew it had been waiting for her. For a long moment, Clara simply stood there, letting the quiet night embrace her, letting the snow, the music, the faint whisper of the city, and the warmth of the compass sink in. She did not know what awaited her, or where this strange night would lead, but she did know this. Something extraordinary was beginning, and so, with the compass clutched in her hand, and the hush of Liverpool wrapped around her like a blanket, Clara took her first step toward the adventure that would change her Christmas forever. Chapter 1. The Snowfall. Over Liverpool. Part 1. The first snow of December had fallen quietly over Liverpool, coating the streets in a thick, soft blanket that seemed to hush the city itself. The familiar clamour of the docks, the distant shouts from the pubs, the rattle of trams along cobblestone, all were softened under the weight of this gentle winter veil. Clara walked slowly along Church Street, her boots leaving shallow imprints in the pristine white, each step deliberate, as if afraid to disturb the silence. Her scarf, a deep crimson, was wrapped snugly around her neck, the ends tucked into her coat, but even so the chill bit lightly at her cheeks, painting them with a rosy flush. The city felt different tonight, transformed by snow and mist, and the faint glow of gas lamps. Every street she passed shimmered with lights from the shop windows, their frosted panes adorned with tinsel, candles, and glimmering ornaments. Clara followed the gentle notes outside a small toy shop wound through the snow, mesmerised by the miniature train. The music was soft, chugged around a snow village, yet it carried a cold smoke, seeming almost alive, chill from her fingers. She pressed a gloved hand to the glass. The deeper she walked into the heart of the surface city, and for a moment, quieter the world, she felt transported back to Christmas, more clamours of her childhood. She could see herself, shouts, a little girl in a woolen coat, racing her brother to see the hidden beneath the tree, his laughter echoing in the warm, pine-scented air of their home. Entered a small square. It had been years since she'd felt children were laughing and throwing snow, unburdened to light in the world. Trailed behind. Life had grown heavy with routine, and their mittened hands, the quiet rhythms of spheres of snow with careless joy. Evenings spent alone in her flat, Clara stood still, the ordinary ticking of days, letting herself be carried back to her own childhood. Tonight, Clara felt a strange stirring, snowdrifts with her brother. A gentle tug, shout chest, and laughing, whispered there, until her chest waiting beyond the snow-covered streets. She inhaled the melted snow, letting the scent of coals to bitter-sweet warmth, roasted chestnut, a pang, and a faint hint of blight from a nearby florist fill her senses. It was then that she noticed, and she allowed herself to believe. He stood near the edge of the square for a moment, a young man no magical than herself, with the snow swirled around his forehead. As she turned, in his hands was a roulette guitar, its wood polished by use. The walls, strings, and terraced houses loomed close. He played softly, their brick facade, his fingers moving with precision, and icicles hanging like delicate coaxing music that felt every so often breathing a faint glow flickered behind a window. The notes carried across, huddled together, square candles casting the laughter of children, shadows across walls, soft crunch of snow. But Clara could hear muffled laughter, the distant toll, the church bells. Clara felt herself carried on the wind, almost unconsciously. She smiled. She walked closer, feeling boots sinking slightly into the soft snow. Companionship, her scarf brushing against her excitement. The young man looked up briefly, return home, his eyes meeting hers. Tonight she would, for an instant, the world seemed to the lane opened into the small square. The children, where a distant cities cast a warm circle of light across the snow, until only his gaze and the music tucked into the shadow. He smiled faintly, was a tiny, as though sharing a secret that she had yet to understand. An elderly, she stopped a few steps away, unsure whether to speak, afraid of breaking the spell of the music on. But as the last chord lingered in the cold night air, to the soft glow, she found herself speaking of wind chimes. Your music from the corners of the store, like, "Good evening, love." Home, she whispered. Her voice with his guitar crackling like a fire, regarding her out for a wander. But such a snowy cold night. Thank you, Clara nodded. Music keeps us alive. I suppose so. Of what matters when she replied softly. Too big, or too I don't expect to find any stars still open. Clutching the brass star's eyes twinkled. Some nights, magic waits for those who wander without purpose. Perhaps you also needed to see something, just the snow, he replied. Perhaps you was gentle towards some carrying a hint of mystery. She reached under the counter and lifted a small, he didn't explain, brass star. His gaze was patient, no larger, encouraging, the palm of Clara, as if inviting her to continue. Its surface was etched without intricate lines. Clara fell into catching the lamplight in a gentle feeling glow. A strange sense. This is for years. The woman, as if she had been walking, carry it with you all her life, and let it remind and you, simply hadn't realised it. In the darkest, the snow felt more light exists, thick. It waits for those willing to notice it. Tops, Clara hesitated, and lampposts, but the light of the brass each flame seemed to cast the glow of the city lights. She felt a strange, instant, comforting before landing on the as though a star carried a heartbeat. Clara breathed it. Thank you. Letting it fill her lungs, her voice trembling slightly. Air. She looked the sound of up to speak again. The soft scratched woman's name, or to say shoes in the snow. But the store was empty. The distant snow had already begun to cover the footprint. The faint crackle of a fire, only the star and the quiet hum of the all combined into a pocketing the star. Quiet light. Clara turned to continue. They wandered through streets, feeling its gentle windows against her side. Each display, the streets of the world seemed both familiar. Tiny wooden trains chugged around snowy villages. felt as though the city itself was inviting her into its story, but guiding behind routine something she had long years of neglect. Desired. They continued walking, a sense of wonder, following the connecting streets toward the old part of the city. In the ordinary, the buildings seemed close together, where children were building facades, a snowman and dark, their red scarves trailing in the air, as they laughed and called to one another. Iron brackets, a dog casting gentle and ran across the snow, shaking off flakes. Clara noticed foot and sending a shower of white into the air. Clara paused to watch and large, letting the scene various directions, some vanishing in the sound of laughter, leaving only the crunch of snow under boots. The city felt a tang of cold air, each the sparkle of frost on rooftops, stories. Each detail felt important if she listened, as if the night itself were teaching her to notice, a narrow alley to remember where the snow had piled thickly along the edges. Clara stopped briefly, the snowfall gloved hand over the brick wall for part one. The first sound of a distant bell had carried across the city over Liverpool, low and coating the streets in a thick, soft blanket, almost as it seemed to hush the city she did not know. Edward paused as well, clamour of the dog, tilting his head to listen. Shouts. Do you hear from that? The pubs? The rattle of trams along Clara nodded. All was softened under the weight like this gentle winter veil. Edward smiled faintly. Clara walked slowly along Church Street, then let her boots leaving shallow imprint. The two of them continued, moving each step deeper into the fog, and had begun to settle flow to disturb the silence. The snow swirled around them, crimson, catching in Clara's hair, snugly eyelashes, coating her coat tucked into gloves. But each flake chilling lightly at her cheek, hanging in the glow of the lantern with a rosy like a tiny star. The city felt different tonight. The air was formed by snow and mist, sugar and spice. Faint glow of gas everywhere a memory. Every street she passed shimmered with light. Somewhere the shop windows, a small church, their frosted panes into the night sky, tinsel, bells above, told and glimmering ornament, low and resonant. Clara paused outside a small toy shop, mesmerised by the miniature trains to pull. The sound carried snowfall village, whispering through the streets, cotton smoke folding around most alive in the lamp. Edward, she pressed ungloved hand to the glass, guiding them forward, her breath fogging the Clara's fingers brushed against the brass star in her pocket. She felt transported back to the Christmas mornings of her childhood chest. She could see herself energizing, a little girl in a the city seemed to watch her, racing her brother to see its breaths, hidden beneath a tree for her next step. His laughter echoing, she turned to Edward, whose gaze met hers with quiet encouragement. It had been years since she'd felt that kind of joy. Continued toward the steep, unburdened delight in the world. Life had grown heavy with routines, memory, the quiet rhythms of work at the small bookshop, evenings spent alone in her flat, the ordinary ticking of days. And yet, tonight, Clara felt a strange stirring, a gentle tug in her chest that whispered there was more waiting beyond the snow-covered streets. She inhaled deeply, letting the scent of coal smoke, roasted chestnuts, and a faint hint of pine from a nearby florist fill her senses, and she allowed herself to believe, if only for a moment, that something magical might happen. The snow swirled around her as she turned onto a narrow lane, one she hadn't walked in years. The walls of the old terraced houses loomed close, their brick facades softened by frost, and icicles hanging like delicate chandeliers. Every so often, a faint glow flickered behind a window where families huddled together, candles casting dancing shadows across walls and furniture. Clara could hear muffled laughter, the clinking of teacups, the soft hum of a carol carried on the winter air. She smiled faintly, feeling a pang of longing for warmth and companionship, but also a quiet excitement. Tonight she would not return home just yet. Tonight she would wander. Ahead, the lane opened into a small square, where a lone lamppost cast a warm circle of light across the snow. There, tucked into the shadow of a brick wall, was a tiny stall still open despite the hour. An elderly woman stood behind it, wrapped in a thick shawl, her hands deftly arranging the ornaments on display. Clara approached slowly, drawn to the soft glow and the delicate music of wind chimes that hung from the corners of the stall. "Good evening, love," the woman said, her voice warm and crackling like a fire. "Out for a wander on such a snowy night?" Clara nodded. I suppose so," she replied softly. "I didn't expect to find any stalls still open." The woman's eyes twinkled. "Some nights, magic waits for those who wander without purpose. Perhaps you've been walking for more than just the snow. Perhaps you've been walking towards something you've forgotten." She reached under the counter and lifted Chapter 2, The Compass Awakens. No Part 1, The morning after the first snowfall. Its surface was etched awoke beneath a soft, sparkling blanket of white, gentle glow. The streets glimmered with frost, and every lamppost seemed to hold a tiny sun within its glow. Darkest. Clara stepped out of her small flat, pulling her coat tighter, and letting the scarf rise to cover her chin. Brass in her hand, the air was crisp, her fingers scented faintly. She felt a strange coal, combined pulse, and the lingering sweetness of the night's festivities. She clutched the brass star the elderly woman had given her, her voice feeling its warmth pulse softly against her fingers. To speak again. Her thoughts lingered on the night before, but the music, the quiet squares begun to cover the Edward's gaze, leaving subtle magic that seemed to hum just beneath the ordinary. The star, and yet it was the compass she had found near the river, tucked into the folds of her coat pocket, that drew her attention most urgently this morning. And it was not large, under the weight of merely a worn brass object with a needle that danced briefly before settling, as if acknowledging her presence and guiding her towards something unseen. Somewhere, Clara walked slowly, letting her boots sink into the snow with a satisfying crunch, following the gentle sway of the compass needle. Its warmth seemed to radiate beyond her palms, spreading into her chest, making her heart feel lighter, more open to possibilities. The city around her remained hushed, the usual bustle muffled under layers of snow. Even the river, so often busy with ships and sailors, seemed subdued. Memories of its dark routers reflecting the soft grey sky, of laughter and the occasional shimmers filled with pine and sea. As she wandered, of small Clara noticed details she had never paid attention to before. Frost-etched delicate patterns along window panes, curling like tiny vines and flowers. They mingled. The faint smell of baking bread drifted from a bakery, the soft glow of lamp mingling with the sweet scent of sugar and the earthy tang of coal smoke. She felt as every city itself was a soft whistle into its of wind between the buildings, guiding her towards the distant clatter of a shutter. The faint jingle of bells resonated with an unusual clarity. It was as if the snow had made the city speak, its voice subtle, a snowman, melodic, their red scarves trailing secrets as they laughed and guided her down narrow alleys and past quiet square through the snow, through neighbourhoods shaking off flames, where terrace descending a shower of light close together. Clara paused chimneys, puffing smoke lazily into the winter air. The sound. Clara noticed a cat slipping silently along the edges of the street, the tang of its fur dusted with snow, the spark awoke and magical, in a way she could scarcely put into words. The streets glimmered. Her path eventually and led her to the waterfront, where the river Mersey spread wide and dark before her. Stepped its surface broken by gentling her coat tighter that caught them and letting the scarf. The fog hung low, curling like smoke. The air was crisp, and in the distance she could make out the shapes of moored ships and cranes, softened by mist of the night's festivity. Here she clutched the pulse more insistently, its warmth radiating through her coat and into her chest. Her fingers. Clara knelt, her thoughts slightly on the night, brushing snow from the ground, and traced the needle's direction with her eyes. It pointed toward a small, subtle magic she had never noticed before, just tucked between the larger docks. And yet, as she approached the compass, the faint strains of music reached her ears once again. That drew softer than Edward's guitar, most urgent, more melancholy. It was not like a song, carried by the wind itself. Object. A figure stood near the edge briefly before settling, hunched slightly against the presence, striding a delicate tune on a violin. His notes floated over the water, letting her mingling with the soft lapping of the satisfying and the whisper of wind through the rigging and ray of the compass needle. The music felt alive, seemed to radiate, almost as if it had a heartbeat, rising and falling in time with her own. Feel lighter. The man noticed her standing there, compass in city around her, and smiled faintly. The usual bustle, he said, muffled under his voice low and smooth, even like a note that lingered just beyond the edge of hearing. Ships and sails. You found it, seemed subdued. Clara tilted her head. It's unsure what he meant, reflecting the soft found sky. He gestured to the compass she held, nodding once as she wondered. That object has been waiting for someone who can listen to before. Someone willing to follow it. Delicate you, I think, along with are ready. Clara felt a sudden warmth, as though the brass star in her pocket and the compass in her hand were in quiet conversation, acknowledging one another. And the earthy ready for what? Smoke. She asked softly. Every sound. The man's eyes gleamed with an unusual light between the buildings. To see things that others cannot shutter. To hear faint whispers of this city, and to follow her magically with an unusual clarity. The words sent a shiver down her spine. The city speak, not from fear, his voice subtle, but from anticipation and full. Clara realised that this night, this morning, guided her down narrow. Perhaps this entire Christmas was going to be unlike any she had experienced before. Every footstep, every breath of wind, every falling flake of snow felt loaded with potential, charged with the promise of slipping silently along the man lifted his violin slightly, his fur and the music swelled, carrying her senses along with it of the invisible thread. Clara could hear everything around her, the faint echo of carriage rattled softly in time with the melodies in the distance, and she knew, without fully understanding why, that the compass would guide her to something extraordinary. She tucked the star deeper into her coat and followed the line toward a small row of boats moored along the dock, each one quiet, swaying gently in the icy water. The wharf was almost deserted and dark, save for a few seagulls huddled near the edge, the distant shapes of fishermen preparing for the day's fog hung low. Clara's boots left crisp imprints in the snow. Her movements deliberate, savouring every sensation, softened by mist. The cold, the smell of salt, and compass pulsed more. The faint vibration of music in the air radiating through the city, usually so familiar, felt strange and alive, brushing snow detailed, as she realised that her journey had truly begun, not with a loud announcement or a grand event felt alive, but with quiet, deliberate steps along a snow-covered dock, falling in time, guided by music. The man noticed an unseen thread that connected all things, smiled faintly. "Ah," he said, his voice low and smooth, like a note that lingered just beyond the edge of hearing. "You found it." Clara tilted her head, unsure what he meant. "Found what?" He gestured to the compass she held, nodding once. "That object has been waiting for someone who can listen, someone willing to follow it. You, I think, are ready." Clara felt a sudden warmth, as though the brass star in her pocket and the compass in her hand were in quiet conversation, acknowledging one another. "Ready for what?" she asked softly. The man's eyes gleamed with an unusual light. "To see things that others cannot, to hear the quiet whispers of this city, and to follow where magic leads." The words sent a shiver down her spine, not from fear, but from anticipation. Clara realised that this night, this morning, perhaps this entire Christmas, was going to be unlike any she had experienced before. Every footstep, every breath of wind, every falling flake of snow felt loaded with potential, charged with the promise of adventure. The man lifted his violin slightly, and the music swelled, carrying her senses along with it. Clara could hear the faint echo of her own heartbeat in time with the melody, and she knew, without fully understanding why, that the compass would guide her to something extraordinary. She tucked the star deeper into her coat and followed the man toward a small row of boats moored along the dock, each one quiet, swaying gently in the icy water. The wharf was almost deserted, save for a few seagulls huddled near the edge and the distant shapes of fishermen preparing for the day's work. Clara's boots left crisp imprints in the snow, her movements deliberate, savouring every sensation. The cold, the smell of salt and wood, the faint vibration of music in the air. The city, usually so familiar, felt strange and alive, each detail heightened as though seen through a lens of wonder. The man paused near a small weathered boat, brushing snow from the deck. "Here," he said, gesturing to the compass. "Follow it closely. It will lead you to things you cannot yet imagine, to places you may not believe exist, and to moments that will change you. But you must walk slowly, notice everything, and trust what you feel." Clara nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility and excitement. The compass pulsed once more, and she realised that her journey had truly begun, not with a loud announcement or a grand event, but with quiet, deliberate steps along a snow-covered dock, guided by music, light, and an unseen thread that connected all things. Clara stepped carefully onto the wooden planks of the small wharf, feeling the subtle give of the weathered boards beneath her boots. Each step made a soft, hollow echo, blending with the gentle lap of water against the hulls of the moored boats. The air carried the familiar scent of salt and seaweed, mingling with the crispness of the snow that clung stubbornly to every surface. The brass star in her pocket warmed her fingers, its pulse somehow attuned to the rhythmic movement of the compass needle in her other hand. The mysterious man who had been playing the violin motioned toward a narrow passage deliberate step forward. The passage between the ships was narrow, the boards slick with frost, but the compass vibrated slightly in her hand, as if offering reassurance. She paused, letting her senses adjust to the muted sounds, the creak of rigging, the soft splash of water, the faint flutter of a gull's wings far above. Everything seemed heightened, amplified by the stillness of the morning. As she moved through the passage, the city opened up before her in subtle ways she had never noticed. The fog over the river curled and drifted like living smoke, catching stray sunlight in glimmers of gold and silver. Small figures moved along the distant quays, their breath forming little clouds, their boots crunching over snow-dusted stones. Clara felt the gentle tug of anticipation building in her chest. She was following more than just a needle on a compass. She was following the city itself, following the quiet pulse of life she had always overlooked. The violinist paused, letting the music trail off into the crisp morning air. "Do you hear it?" he asked. Clara tilted her head. "Hear what?" "The heartbeat of the city," he said. "Some call it the rhythm of everyday life, others call it magic, but it is here, Clara, always. You just have to tune in." She pressed the compass against her chest, feeling its warmth echo in tandem with the faint vibrations in her palm. Somehow it made sense. Every sound, the murmur of the river, the soft flapping of gulls, the distant laughter of dock workers, was part of a single living pattern. The city was breathing, and for the first time in years, Clara felt herself breathing with it. The path curved gently along the edge of the dock, leading her to a small square where fishermen had stacked crates of fresh fish, their icy surfaces glinting like tiny crystals. A young boy, no older than 10, ran past her, holding a small tin whistle, and began to play a short, cheerful tune. The sound mingled with the faint hum of the river and the soft creak of boat timbers, creating a harmony that felt almost deliberate, as if the world itself had composed it. Clara smiled, realizing that these little moments, so easily overlooked, carried the real magic of the city. She noticed a small boat pulled slightly ashore, its hull painted a soft blue, the wood polished by years of use. On its deck sat a tiny bundle wrapped in cloth, which she could now see held a notebook, a pen, and several folded papers. The compass seemed to quiver in her hand, pulling her closer. She stepped lightly onto the boat, the planks groaning softly beneath her weight. Picking up the notebook, she opened it and found pages filled with delicate sketches of Liverpool's streets, docks, and people, each illustration capturing the essence of everyday life with a tenderness that made her chest ache. A soft voice spoke behind her. "That notebook chooses those who notice," the violinist said, now standing a few steps away, his gaze serene. "It shows you what others walk past. It helps you see the invisible threads connecting everything." Clara looked at the pages, then back at him. "Why me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Because you are ready to see," he replied. "Ready to follow, ready to feel. The compass led you here for a reason, and these pages are only the beginning." She traced her fingers along the delicate sketches, each one alive with subtle motion. A street lamp glimmered as if the light within it laughter seemed to echo faintly from one page to the next. Clara felt herself being drawn into the art, into the city's soul, realizing that magic was not just hidden in objects or sounds, but in the way attention and care could illuminate the ordinary. The violinist nodded, as if understanding her thoughts. The compass does more than guide you to places. It guides you to perception, to awareness, to the quiet magic of noticing. You are beginning to see it now. The morning light grew brighter, though the fog remained low over the water. Clara tucked the notebook under her arm and felt the brass star warm her hand again. She knew that she would carry these things with her. Compass, star, notebook, and that each would continue to whisper gently when the time was right. Edward, who had returned to join her, picked up the guitar and played a soft, lingering note. The sound resonated with the city's rhythm, and Clara felt the harmony of the river, the docks, and the snow swirling around her, binding her to this moment. She realised that she was not just observing Liverpool, she was participating in it. Each breath, each step, each heartbeat contributed to the magic, the song, the life of the city on this extraordinary Christmas morning. For hours Clara wandered, with the compass, guided by music, sketches, and the gentle direction of the violinist. Every turn revealed another hidden detail. A child peering through the frosted glass at a toy train. A merchant carefully arranging ornaments. A cat slinking silently along a snow-covered roof. Each encounter, each subtle scene, wove together into a tapestry of ordinary wonder, made extraordinary simply by the attention she brought to it. As the sun began to rise, casting golden streaks across the river and sparkling on the snow, Clara paused at the edge of the docks. The compass pulsed warmly, and she felt a profound sense of connection to the city, to its people, and to the magic that thrived in quiet, unnoticed moments. She understood now that this journey was not just about reaching a destination, but about learning to see, to listen, and to feel with intention. The violinist smiled, the faintest glow of pride in his eyes. "Tomorrow," he said softly, "the compass will lead you further, to places that will challenge your heart and expand your understanding. But for today, you have learned the first lesson. Notice, and magic will reveal itself." Clara nodded, her breath forming small clouds in the crisp air. She had walked through the snow, fog, music, and quiet, guided by a compass that pulsed with unseen life. And she knew, deep in her heart, that the story was only beginning, and that she was ready to follow wherever it might lead. Chapter 2. The Compass Awakens. The afternoon sun, filtered through the low-hanging fog, cast Liverpool in a pale silvery light. Clara felt the soft pulse of the compass in her hand, a steady heartbeat that seemed to resonate with the rhythm of the city itself. Every step she took along the cobblestone streets brought new details into focus. A shopkeeper arranging candles in the window, their flames flickering like tiny stars. A cat weaving carefully through snow-laden crates, leaving delicate paw prints behind. Children laughing as they tumbled through drifts of snow, scarves trailing behind them like banners. Edward walked beside her, guitar in hand, of something larger than herself. A city alive with stories, magic, and subtle wonders. They turned down a narrow alley that opened onto a quiet square. Here, a small crowd had gathered, captivated by a street performer. He juggled glowing orbs, tossing them high into the air, and each time they fell, they seemed to leave behind a faint trail of shimmering light. Clara watched, enchanted, noting how the orb trails lingered just long enough for her mind to absorb their fleeting beauty before fading into nothing. It was a delicate reminder that magic was not always permanent, but its memory lingered, and noticing it made it real. The compass in her hand pulsed again, guiding her towards the riverfront where the morning's fog had begun to lift. Here, the city revealed itself in broader strokes. The gentle sway of boats in the harbour, the soft clatter of rigging against masts, the distant call of gulls circling above. Clara's eyes caught the reflection of a small, snow-covered bridge in the water, and she paused, captivated by the way the morning light glimmered across its arches. Every detail felt meaningful, imbued with a quiet, deliberate magic that seemed to affirm her presence in this moment. Edward's voice broke the silence softly. "See how the city moves with us. How the streets, the river, even the snow, seem to breathe in rhythm with your steps." Clara nodded, feeling an almost dizzying sense of connection. "It's alive. I can feel it, like it's watching, guiding, welcoming me." He smiled. "Exactly. And that is what the compass does. It helps you notice. It doesn't just point you toward places, it points you toward awareness, toward understanding, toward the moments that matter." They continued along the river, following the compass as it pulsed gently, guiding them to a quiet corner of the harbour that Clara had never seen before. Here, the snow had piled higher, muffling sounds and creating a stillness that felt almost sacred. Small lanterns lined the edge of the dock, casting golden circles of light across the pristine white surface. In the centre of this tranquil scene, a single boat bobbed lightly, decorated with garlands of pine and holly, candles flickering softly along its railing. Clara approached cautiously, captivated by the scene. The boat seemed to glow, not just from the candles, but as if lit from within, a small beacon in the snowy morning. She felt the brass star in her pocket pulse once more, stronger this time, and realised that this was where the compass had been leading her. Every sense was alive. The smell of pine and candle wax, the gentle lapping of water against the hull, the whisper of wind through rigging, the soft creak of wooden boards underfoot. A soft voice spoke from behind her. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Clara turned to see the violinist standing quietly in the shadows. "Yes," she whispered. "It feels magical." He nodded. "It is. But magic is not just in what you see. It's in what you feel, in the awareness that you bring. You have walked through the streets, squares, docks, and alleys, noticing the small miracles. And now, here, the city offers you a gift for your attention." Clara felt a tremor of anticipation. She stepped onto the boat carefully, the wood groaning beneath her boots, and stood at the centre. The light from the lanterns reflected off the snow-dusted surface of the water, water, creating a shimmering mosaic that seemed to stretch infinitely in every direction. She could hear the faint hum of the city behind her, the distant bells, the soft footfalls of passers-by, the muffled chatter of market-goers. But here, in this moment, everything felt suspended, timeless, perfect. Edward joined her, setting his guitar gently on the boat's edge. He nodded toward the river. Look closely. Listen. Feel. There are stories hidden in the reflections, whispers carried by the water. Tonight or tomorrow or whenever you're ready, you will see them fully. But for now, let yourself be present. This is the gift. Clara closed her eyes, letting the sounds, scents, and sensations wash over her. The warmth of the brass star, the steady pulse of the compass, the soft echo of Edward's guitar notes mingling with the violinist's earlier music. It all combined into a single, quiet symphony. She felt her heart open, her mind expand, her awareness stretch to include every tiny detail around her. The city was alive, and she was part of it. Time seemed to stretch and fold in on itself. Snowflakes drifted lazily from the sky, settling softly on her coat and hair. A pair of children ran past, their laughter echoing faintly, leaving behind the faintest tracks in the snow. A dog barked in the distance, its voice carrying across the quiet harbour. Clara breathed deeply, feeling each note, each whisper, each heartbeat, and understood that this was the true magic the compass had been guiding her toward. Presence, awareness, and the gentle, unassuming beauty of noticing the world fully. As the afternoon light began to shift toward the golden glow of evening, Clara felt a gentle pull from the compass. It directed her back toward the heart of the city, toward the streets and squares. She had wandered the day before, but now with a new perspective. Every detail, every moment, every fleeting sound or movement held significance. She realized that the compass was not merely a tool for navigation. It was a teacher, guiding her to see the invisible threads that connected all things, to experience magic in the mundane, and to understand that even a snow-covered city held wonders beyond the eye's first glance. Edward picked up his guitar once more, strumming a few soft, lingering notes that seemed to harmonize with the city's rhythm. Clara smiled, feeling the pulse of the compass, the warmth of the star, and the gentle echo of the violinist's earlier melody converge into a quiet certainty. She was ready for whatever came next. The evening sun touched the rooftops, painting Liverpool in gold and silver, and Clara understood that the compass had guided her not just through streets and docks, but into a deeper awareness of herself and the city she had always loved. The magic was not in grand gestures or loud proclamations. It was in noticing, in breathing, in walking slowly and observing, in letting the world speak quietly and listening with full attention. And as she followed Edward back toward the streets, toward the evening and the approaching night, Clara felt a gentle certainty in her heart. The story was far from over. The compass, the star, and the city had much more to reveal. Tonight, and tomorrow, and every moment beyond, held magic waiting for those who could see it and she finally was ready. Chapter 3: The Hidden Market at Twilight, Part 1. Twilight settled over Liverpool like a gentle veil, softening the edges of buildings and streets, turning lamplight into pools of golden warmth against the gathering dusk. Clara walked alongside Edward, her boots crunching softly on the snow-covered cobblestones. The city had changed again from the quiet magic of morning. Now it breathed with a slower, more mysterious rhythm. The fog curling around lampposts and shop windows, muffling sound and softening light. The compass in her hand pulsed faintly, guiding her toward the heart of the city she thought she knew, yet now revealed in fragments of shadow and amber glow. Each step she took seemed to stir something hidden in the air. A scent of pine mixed with roasting chestnuts, the faint tang of candle wax, and a whisper of old wood and coal. Clara inhaled deeply, letting the aromas fill her senses, feeling her pulse match the subtle vibration of the compass against her palm. Edward paused at a narrow archway tucked between two buildings, its entrance shrouded in curling mist. "This is the way," he said softly, his voice blending with the quiet hum of the city. "The market only appears to those who notice the small threads. Walk slowly. Observe." Clara stepped forward, her breath forming little clouds that drifted upward, mingling with the soft fog. Beyond the archway, the hidden market revealed itself like a secret waiting to be discovered. Tiny lanterns swung gently in the twilight, casting pools of flickering light over stalls brimming with treasures. Hand-carved figurines, delicate ornaments, shimmering ribbons, and trinkets that caught and held light in impossible ways lined the wooden tables. The air was alive with a quiet magic, a symphony of subtle sounds, fragrances, and gentle movements that felt orchestrated just for those willing to notice. A woman with a silver shawl and soft eyes approached, her hands arranging a display of small glass animals that seemed to shimmer even in the dim light. "Good evening," she whispered, her voice like the faint rustle of silk. "Welcome. You are here to see what is often unseen." Clara nodded, her heart beating with anticipation. I think I am ready," she said, her voice soft, almost a breath. The brass star in her pocket pulsed gently, warm against her fingers, as if affirming her words. Edward moved beside her, strumming a few soft notes on his guitar. The sound wove through the market, blending seamlessly with the murmur of distant conversations, the faint ringing of bells, and the soft shuffle of feet over wooden planks. Clara felt herself being drawn forward, step by step, until she reached a stall where a tiny snow globe rested, glowing from within as though it held its own private moon. The woman smiled. "Each piece here holds a story, a whisper of something true. Touch them. Listen." She gestured gently toward the globe. Clara lifted it carefully, feeling a faint warmth emanate from the smooth glass. Inside, a miniature Liverpool scene glittered under its own tiny snowfall. A bridge, a river, children playing in the snow, and a lone figure walking with a small brass compass in hand. Clara's breath caught attracts those who notice, who listen. The compass brought you here for a reason. It leads to hidden stories, small miracles and quiet truths. Clara turned the globe gently in her hands, noticing the snow swirl with each tilt, the figure walking steadily, unaffected by the tiny storm. She realised that magic was not only in grand gestures, but in the attention and care given to ordinary details. Each moment, each observation made the world richer, more alive, more full of possibilities. Edward's guitar faded into silence, leaving only the gentle murmur of the market and Clara's own heartbeat. She walked slowly from stall to stall, allowing herself to notice the faint glimmer of frost on a ribbon, the soft creak of wooden boards beneath boots, the subtle scent of cinnamon drifting from a nearby pastry stall, the delicate touch of glass ornaments warmed by candlelight. Each sensation resonated with her in a way that felt profoundly intimate, grounding her, heightening her awareness, and opening her to the quiet, unassuming magic surrounding her. As night deepened, the market's illumination seemed to intensify, lanterns and candles forming a path of golden light through the twisting alleys and hidden nooks. Clara followed Edward along this luminous trail, feeling the compass pulse stronger, as if encouraging her to take the next step, to trust in the unseen guidance it offered. A gentle voice spoke nearby, almost carried on the wind. Those who walk here with attention see the world as it truly is, it whispered. Clara turned slightly, but the voice seemed to emanate from the market itself, flowing from lanterns, snowflakes, and the quiet rhythm of the evening. It was not a single person, but a chorus of subtle presences, each part of the hidden magic that made Liverpool on this winter's night so extraordinary. Clara closed her eyes for a moment, breathing deeply. She could feel the pulse of the city through her soles, the heartbeat of the market in the vibrations of the wooden planks, the gentle warmth of the star and compass in her hands. It was as if every sight, sound and scent had been waiting for her to notice, to acknowledge, to participate. She opened her eyes, feeling fully present, fully alive, fully attuned to the magic that surrounded her. The night deepened, and the lanterns of the hidden market glowed brighter against the darkening sky. Clara felt the gentle pulse of the compass in her hand, guiding her forward, as if urging her towards something beyond ordinary sight. Edward walked beside her, strumming a few soft, lingering chords that wove seamlessly into the subtle hum of the evening. Each note seemed to awaken the market, coaxing hidden magic into gentle visibility. Ahead, a narrow archway framed a small courtyard, its cobblestones dusted with snow and edged by lanterns that cast long, warm shadows. Clara felt the compass grow warmer in her palm, the pulse stronger and steadier, and she realised she had arrived at the heart of the hidden market, the place that held the culmination of its subtle enchantments. Within the courtyard, she saw a table covered in a deep velvet cloth, upon which rested several objects she had encountered earlier: the glass orbs, the tiny snow globe, the hand-stitched ribbon, and a few other trinkets. Each seemed to glow faintly in the lantern light, resonating with Clara's presence, as if noticed has been part of a single pattern," he said softly. "Now, watch closely. The magic of the market is about to reveal itself fully." Clara leaned forward, her breath forming little clouds in the crisp night air. She placed her hand over the snow globe, and instantly the miniature Liverpool scene inside began to move. Tiny figures walked along the streets, lights flickered in the windows, and the gentle swirl of snow inside mirrored the snowfall outside. But more astonishingly, the compass in her hand pulsed in perfect harmony with the globe, as if the tiny city and the real one were connected through invisible threads. Edward strummed a chord, and the sound resonated through the courtyard. The other objects, the ribbon, the orbs, even the brass star in Clara's pocket, glowed softly, as if responding to the music. Clara felt a gentle warmth radiate through her body, a sense of deep connection to the city, the market, and the subtle, unseen currents that tied all things together. A hush fell over the courtyard. Even the soft crunch of snow beneath their feet seemed to pause, the world holding its breath. Then, slowly, the snowflakes in the air began to shimmer with tiny glimmers of colour, catching the lantern light and scattering it like delicate prisms. Clara reached out, letting them fall through her fingers, feeling each one's cool touch and subtle warmth, as if carrying a whisper of the market's magic. The violinist's voice broke the silence, barely audible over the gentle chime of distant bells. Magic is not always grand. Often it is quiet, patient, waiting for someone who notices. Tonight, you have been that someone. Clara's eyes swept over the scene. The tiny movements in the snow globe, the glowing ribbon, the orbs shimmering with captured moments, they all formed a subtle symphony, a quiet narrative that spoke of the city, its people, and the magic embedded in everyday life. She realised that the hidden market was not merely a place, but a living story, unfolding for those willing to see and feel it. Edward's music rose slightly, a single, sustained note that seemed to make the air vibrate with possibility. Clara felt herself drawn forward, placing both hands on the snow globe. The tiny figures inside paused, and then lifted their heads, as if aware of her presence. Light flickered across the windows of the miniature buildings, reflecting her own heartbeat and the compass's pulse. The feeling was profound, a quiet, intimate revelation that connected her to everything she had noticed, everything she had touched, and everything she was about to discover. A soft, glowing mist began to rise from the table, swirling around the objects, enveloping Clara and Edward in a warm golden haze. The compass in Clara's hand pulsed stronger, and the brass star in her pocket hummed softly, resonating with the energy around her. The violinist's bow moved across the strings in slow, deliberate strokes, each note amplifying the magic of the courtyard. Suddenly, the objects lifted gently, floating in the air as if weightless. The orbs circled each other in a delicate dance. The ribbon twined around them in luminous spirals, and the snow globe hovered in place, spinning slowly to reveal the miniature city from every angle. Clara watched in awe, feeling the magic pulse through her fingertips, the compass and star amplifying every Miss whispered, that every moment, every detail, every quiet observation is part of a larger pattern. The hidden market reveals itself to those who notice, to those who care, and to those willing to participate in the story it tells. Clara's heart swelled with wonder. She realised that the magic of Liverpool, the hidden market, and the objects she had encountered were all connected through her attention, her care, and her awareness. Each act of noticing had allowed the enchantment to grow stronger, culminating in this breathtaking display. Edward strummed one final chord, letting it resonate and fade into the night. The floating objects descended gently back onto the table, the snow globe settling softly, the orbs resting in their places, and the ribbon lying delicately across the velvet cloth. The mist dissipated, and the courtyard returned to its tranquil state, though Clara felt that everything had shifted irrevocably. She held the compass and star close, feeling their warmth, their pulse, their quiet, steady guidance. The hidden market had revealed its heart to her, and she understood that this was only the beginning. Every step she had taken, every sight, sound, and sensation she had noticed, had prepared her for the deeper journey still to come. The violinist smiled, his eyes reflecting the glow of the lanterns. "Rest now," he said softly. "The night has given you its gift. Tomorrow the compass will lead you further, to paths you cannot yet imagine. But tonight, remember this. Magic exists in noticing, in listening, in being fully present. Carry that with you, and the world will always reveal its wonders." Clara exhaled slowly, letting the night's magic settle into her bones. She felt a quiet serenity, a sense of connection to the city, the market, and every subtle wonder she had encountered. As she followed Edward out of the courtyard and back toward the streets of Liverpool, the compass pulsed gently, guiding her forward, promising more mysteries, more magic, and more stories waiting to be discovered. Chapter 4: The Midnight Bell and the Forgotten Lighthouse. Part 1. The night had deepened over Liverpool, blanketing the city in a quiet, velvety darkness. Clara walked slowly along the snow-dusted streets, Edward beside her with his guitar, slung lightly over his shoulder, and the compass pulsing gently in her palm. The city now seemed entirely different from the daytime, as if twilight and darkness had revealed another layer of reality, a hidden, whispered Liverpool that only those who notice could see. The faint sound of bells reached her ears, soft but distinct, carried on the crisp winter air. Clara paused, tilting her head to listen. The sound was steady, rhythmic, and carried a resonance that seemed to vibrate through the cobblestones beneath her boots. The compass pulsed in response, stronger than ever, its warmth spreading from her hand to her chest, syncing with the heartbeat of the city itself. Edward nodded toward the distant harbour, where the outline of a forgotten lighthouse could be seen against the dark sky. Its white paint was chipped and weathered, but a soft golden light glowed faintly from the top, swaying gently like a heartbeat. "The bell," he said, his voice a soft whisper, "comes from the lighthouse. The compass is guiding us there. Step lightly, of sea salt and coal smoke. Each breath seemed to awaken her senses, making every sound, shadow and shimmer of light sharper, clearer, more alive. She felt the pulse of the compass and the warmth of the brass star in her pocket, and she understood that this was not just a walk, it was a journey into the hidden magic of the night. The streets were nearly deserted, but small details caught Clara's attention. A cat moved silently across a rooftop, its fur dusted with snow, eyes glinting in the soft lamplight. Icicles hung from rooftops like crystalline ornaments, catching the glow from lanterns and reflecting it in tiny prisms. The distant sound of a carriage rolling over cobblestones added a subtle rhythm, blending with the bells and the faint whisper of wind through bare branches. As they approached the harbour, the fog grew thicker, curling around wooden posts and moored ships. The compass pulsed steadily, directing Clara along a narrow pier that led toward the lighthouse. The snow beneath her boots muffled her footsteps, creating a sense of intimacy with the city. A silent conversation between her, the compass, and the night itself. Edward paused at a small wooden crate, placing his guitar gently on top. "The lighthouse," he said softly, "is more than a beacon for ships. Tonight it's a guide for those who notice the hidden rhythms of the city. Its bell carries a story, and the compass will help you hear it." Clara nodded, feeling a flutter of anticipation. She stepped forward, the mist curling around her, soft and cool against her cheeks. Every sound, the gentle lapping of water against hulls, the distant call of a gull, the whisper of wind, resonated in her ears with unusual clarity. It was as if the night itself had been composed for her, each note precise, each shadow deliberate, each flicker of light meaningful. The lighthouse loomed closer, a tall, silent sentinel standing against the dark sky. Its golden light rotated slowly, illuminating patches of the pier and sending faint reflections dancing across the rippling water. Clara noticed the subtle carvings on the lighthouse's stone base, worn with age but intricate, depicting waves, stars, and tiny figures climbing towards the light. The compass pulsed urgently now, guiding her toward the narrow doorway at the base. She opened the door carefully, stepping inside. The warmth of the interior contrasted with the crisp night air outside. Wooden beams and spiral stairs wound upward, the faint smell of old wood and salt filling her senses. A single candle flickered in a sconce along the wall, casting long shadows that swayed gently as if alive. The faint sound of the bell above resonated through the stone walls, echoing in a rhythm that matched the compass's pulse. Edward followed quietly, strumming a few soft notes on his guitar, the sound mingling with the bell's toll and the creak of the spiral stairs beneath their feet. Clara felt the pulse of the compass grow stronger, guiding her upward, each step deliberate, each breath mindful. The lighthouse seemed alive, attuned to her presence, responding to her awareness, whispering secrets only those willing to notice could understand. Halfway up the spiral staircase, Clara paused, resting her hand against the cool stone wall. The bells tolling seemed to shift subtly, harmonizing with her heartbeat and the soft music Edward played. closed her eyes, letting the sound wash over her, feeling the warmth of the compass and the brass star in her pocket resonate with every vibration. For a moment, the world outside ceased to exist. There was only the bell, the lighthouse, and the quiet magic of noticing. When she opened her eyes, she saw faint, golden dust particles drifting in the candlelight, swirling gently, like tiny stars caught in the air. Each particle seemed to pulse with life, moving in rhythm with the bell and the compass, creating a living, breathing pattern of light. Clara realised that this lighthouse, long forgotten by the world, was a centre of hidden magic, a nexus where the city's stories, rhythms, and subtle wonders converged. At the top of the stairs, the room opened into a small chamber with a single window overlooking the harbour. The bell's mechanism was visible above, moving slowly, its gears whispering softly with each toll. Clara stepped closer to the window, gazing at the city below, shimmering under the moon and lantern light. The compass pulsed warmly, guiding her gaze to details she had never noticed before. A small rowboat rocking gently, a light flickering in a distant window, a cat slipping silently along a snow-covered roof. Every detail seemed infused with magic, each one a thread in the intricate tapestry of the city. Edward strummed a final, lingering chord. The bell tolled again, and Clara felt the full resonance in her chest, the compass pulsing in perfect harmony. The brass star glowed faintly, warm against her fingers. She understood, without words, that she was witnessing a story unfolding, one that connected the hidden market, the compass, the city, and herself into a single magical narrative. The violinist appeared beside her once more, his presence calm and luminous. "The bell carries the story of Liverpool," he whispered, "not the one written in books, but the one hidden in rhythms, in shadows, in the quiet details. Tonight you have been invited to hear it, to feel it, and to carry it with you. The compass has guided you well, Clara. The journey is only beginning." Clara exhaled slowly, letting the resonance of the bell, the warmth of the compass, and the golden light of the lighthouse settle into her being. She knew that the night had gifted her something extraordinary, a deep awareness of the magic in small moments, the rhythms of the city, and the hidden threads connecting all things, and she was ready to follow wherever the compass might lead next. Clara remained at the top of the lighthouse, the compass pulsing gently in her hand, guiding her gaze across the harbour and city below. Edward's guitar strummed softly, the chords blending with the tolling bell above and the distant whisper of waves against the docks. The night was alive, but not with noise. It thrummed with subtle sounds, hidden rhythms, and tiny movements that most would overlook. From the shadows of the lighthouse chamber, a figure emerged, a small, elderly woman, draped in a cloak of deep blue, moved silently toward Clara. Her eyes glimmered with a quiet knowing, and her hands held a lantern that glowed with a warm, almost ethereal light. "I've been waiting for you," she whispered, her voice like the soft rustle of silk. "The bell has called and you have heard its song. Few are attuned to its rhythm, but you..." You listen. Clara felt a gentle thrill of recognition. The compass pulsed warmly, affirming the woman's words. I think I understand, Clara said softly, but it's so much. So alive. The woman nodded. Yes. The city speaks to those who notice. The bell carries its history, its secrets, its quiet magic. Tonight, you are part of it. She motioned toward the window. Look closely. The harbour, the streets, the alleys. They all move with stories, whispers and echoes of those who came before. Clara stepped to the window, letting the golden light of the lighthouse sweep over her. Beneath, the city shimmered in silver and gold, snow reflecting the lanterns, windows glowing faintly, and the harbour waters catching each flicker of light. She could see figures moving along the streets, some real, some seeming like echoes, each one engaged in tiny, meaningful acts. A baker placing fresh bread in a window, a cat slipping silently across a roof, a child pausing to watch the moon's reflection in a puddle. Every detail pulsed with subtle magic. Edward's music rose, soft and deliberate, each note echoing in the stone chamber. The elderly woman placed her lantern on a nearby ledge, its light mingling with the compass's gentle glow. The bell is a signal not just for ships, but for hearts that listen, she said. It guides attention, care and presence. Tonight it reveals hidden connections, threads that tie the city, its people and its magic together. Clara noticed movement in the harbour below. A small rowboat gliding silently across the water, its lantern reflecting in the rippling surface. Inside, a young boy held a tiny brass compass, similar to hers. He looked up, smiled faintly, and the compass in Clara's hand pulsed more strongly, as if acknowledging the presence of another attuned soul. The elderly woman gestured to the staircase. Follow the sound of the bell. Descend carefully. The rhythm will guide you. You will meet those who carry pieces of the city's story, hidden, overlooked, and quietly magical. Clara nodded, gripping the railing and stepping down slowly. Each creak of the wooden stairs, each soft step on the stone, resonated in perfect harmony with the bell's tolls and Edward's gentle strumming. The compass guided her, pulsing more urgently as they reached the lower chambers. At the bottom, the courtyard outside the lighthouse awaited. Snow had begun to settle in soft layers, muffling sounds and creating a sense of stillness. The elderly woman moved ahead, guiding Clara toward a cluster of figures gathered near the edge of the harbour. A violinist tuning his instrument, a seamstress arranging delicate cloth, a fisherman mending nets, and a child with a small lantern. Each person's movements were quiet, deliberate, imbued with a sense of purpose and hidden magic. Clara stepped closer, the compass pulsing steadily. She realized that every person here, every object, every small sound was a thread in the city's larger story. The bell above tolled again, and the pulse of the compass matched it perfectly, creating a rhythm that resonated through her chest. She could feel the interconnection of all things: lighthouse, harbour, city streets, market, and herself. Edward's guitar filled the space with soft chords, blending with the bell and the subtle rustle of wind through a snow echoes of sound resonating like a quiet symphony. The elderly woman knelt, placing her lantern on the ground. "Tonight you will witness the midnight miracle," she whispered. "It is subtle, but profound. The city offers it to those who notice, who listen, and who participate." Clara felt her heartbeat quicken. The compass pulsed warmly, and the brass star in her pocket seemed to hum in response. She understood, without fully comprehending, that the midnight miracle was both a gift and a revelation, a convergence of magic, presence, and quiet attention. A soft mist began to rise from the harbour, curling around the figures and lanterns. Snowflakes shimmered like tiny prisms in the golden lamplight, and the faint glow of hidden stars seemed to descend closer, illuminating the harbour with a gentle, magical brilliance. Clara felt herself drawn into the scene, each sense heightened. The crunch of snow underfoot, the warmth of the compass, the hum of the bell, the gentle strum of Edward's guitar, and the faint scent of pine and salt in the air. The violinist began to play, slow and deliberate, each note resonating with the bell. Clara noticed the hidden connections between every figure, object, and gesture. The child with the lantern reflected light into the glass of the rowboat. The seamstress's thread glimmered with captured starlight. The fisherman's nets carried subtle echoes of laughter from distant streets. Everything pulsed in harmony, guided by the bell, the compass, and the attentive heart of Clara herself. For a long moment, time seemed suspended. Clara understood that the magic of the city, the lighthouse, and the hidden threads was alive in every detail. The midnight miracle was not an event to witness. It was an experience to feel, a pattern to perceive, a story to participate in. Every breath, every heartbeat, every soft exhalation carried meaning, connecting her fully to the city and its quiet, intricate magic. The elderly woman's voice came softly, like the faintest whisper on the wind. "Remember this night. Carry it with you. The compass will guide you to more wonders, more stories, more quiet miracles. But the magic begins here, in noticing, listening, and being present. You are now part of the city's rhythm, its heartbeat, and its hidden story." Clara exhaled, letting the resonance of the bell, the glow of the lighthouse, and the pulse of the compass settle into her body. She felt a deep serenity, a connection to the city, the harbour, and the quiet magic she had been attuned to all evening. For the first time, she understood the full depth of the journey. It was about noticing, being present, and allowing the world to reveal its wonders, one subtle magical moment at a time. Clara's heart thumped gently in rhythm with the compass and the bell as the mist swirled around the lighthouse courtyard. Each snowflake sparkled faintly in the lantern light, their descent slow and deliberate, almost as if the night itself were choreographing a dance for her alone. The figures gathered around, the child with the lantern, the seamstress, the fisherman, the violinist, moved with quiet precision, their gestures synchronized with the tolling bell above. Edward's guitar hummed softly, each chord resonating with the sound of the bell. harmony with her own heartbeat. She understood that this was the midnight miracle, a convergence of attention, presence, and subtle, invisible magic that existed only for those who truly noticed. The elderly woman stepped forward, raising her lantern high. Its golden glow seemed to intensify, casting shimmering reflections across the snow and water. "Watch closely," she whispered. "Every detail, every small movement is part of a greater story. The city speaks to those who listen, and tonight you're hearing its song." Clara leaned closer, her breath forming soft clouds in the chilly air. The compass pulsed warmly, vibrating gently against her palm. She noticed the child in the rowboat below, who raised the lantern slightly. Tiny sparks of light leapt from the flame, forming delicate threads that wove through the air, connecting the boat to the lighthouse, the harbour, and the courtyard. Each thread shimmered softly, tracing invisible pathways of magic through the night. Edward strummed a slow, deliberate chord. The violinist mirrored him, the sound blending with the bell. Clara could feel the resonance of each note in her chest, a warmth that spread from her heart to her fingertips. The brass star in her pocket pulsed in harmony, a quiet beacon that amplified the connection between her, the city, and the magic unfolding around her. Suddenly, the floating orbs from the hidden market appeared in her mind's eye, their soft glow reflecting in the lantern's light. Clara realised that all the small wonders she had witnessed, the market, the compass, the snow globe, the ribbon, and now the midnight miracle, were threads of the same tapestry. Each act of noticing, each gentle attention to detail had allowed the city's magic to grow stronger, culminating in this breathtaking convergence. The elderly woman motioned toward the harbour. "The miracle is subtle, but it is everywhere. Look not just at what is before your eyes, but at the connections between all things, the rhythm of the bell, the pulse of the compass, the harmony of light, sound, and motion." Clara followed her gaze, seeing patterns emerge in the snow, the water, and the lanterns. Tiny reflections danced across the surface of the harbour, echoing the movements of people and objects, creating a delicate network of light and shadow. Each detail resonated with the magic of presence, a gentle reminder that awareness was the key to discovering hidden wonders. A faint breeze stirred, carrying the scent of pine, salt water, and snow. The snowflakes began to shimmer more intensely, forming delicate spirals and arcs, each one reflecting the golden lantern light. Clara felt herself drawn forward, her senses fully alive. She understood that the midnight miracle was not a spectacle to behold, but an experience to feel, an invitation to participate in the quiet magic that threaded through every corner of the city. Edward's music shifted slightly, a soft arpeggio that seemed to guide the movement of the mist and snowflakes. Clara raised her hands, feeling the gentle currents of energy around her. The floating threads of light wove between her fingers, brushing softly against her skin like whispers of wind. The compass pulsed steadily, the brass star glowing warmly, anchoring her to the magic that surrounded her. Time seemed suspended, each bell toll, Each note of music, each flicker of lantern light, and each snowflake falling from the sky was magnified, heightened, transformed into a symphony of subtle enchantment. Clara felt the connection between herself, the city, and the hidden magic deepen, the realization washing over her in waves. She was not merely witnessing the miracle, she was part of it. The elderly woman knelt, placing her lantern on the ground at the centre of the courtyard. The golden glow spread outward, illuminating every figure, object, and movement. The child with the lantern moved closer, and Clara noticed the compass in the child's hands pulsing in perfect harmony with hers. The strands of light connecting everything grew stronger, weaving a delicate lattice of magic that shimmered across the harbour, the lighthouse, and the city streets beyond. A hush fell over the courtyard. Even the subtle sounds of the harbour, the lapping of water, the distant cry of a gull, the soft rustle of snow, seemed to pause in reverence. Clara closed her eyes, letting the warmth, pulse, and resonance envelop her completely. She felt the city's rhythm in her chest, the compass's guidance in her hand, and the brass star's gentle hum against her fingers. For a moment, she understood the essence of the midnight miracle. Magic was everywhere, but only visible to those who noticed, who listened, and who participated. The bell tolled once more, its deep sound echoing across the harbour and into the city beyond. Clara opened her eyes, and for the first time she saw the full scope of the hidden threads, the light trails from lanterns, the reflections across snow and water, the subtle glow of objects, and the quiet movements of every figure, all woven into a luminous living tapestry. She felt a profound gratitude, a sense of awe, and a deep connection to the city she had always loved. Edward strummed one final chord, letting it fade into silence. The elderly woman smiled faintly. Carry this night within you. The compass will guide you further, but the awareness you have gained is yours to keep. Remember, magic exists in noticing, listening, and being present. You are now part of Liverpool's heartbeat, its rhythm, and its hidden story. Clara exhaled slowly, letting the resonance settle into her bones. She felt a serene certainty, a quiet joy, and a readiness for the next stage of her journey. The lighthouse's light continued to rotate slowly, the bell's toll fading gently into the night, and the compass pulsed warmly, promising more stories, more hidden wonders, and more quiet miracles yet to come. As she followed Edward down the staircase and out into the snowy harbour streets, Clara understood that the midnight miracle was not confined to this night or this place. It lived in every attentive moment, every mindful step, every gentle observation, and as long as she carried her awareness, the city, its magic, and its hidden stories would always reveal themselves, one subtle, luminous moment at a time. Chapter 5. The Lanterns of Hope and the Hidden Alleyways. Part 1. The night air was crisp and still as Clara stepped from the lighthouse courtyard into the quiet streets of Liverpool. Snow crunched softly beneath her boots, each step amplified swaying gently in the wind, casting golden pools of light that danced across the snow and cobblestones. Clara noticed how the shadows shifted with the lanterns, creating patterns that seemed deliberate, as though the city itself were painting a secret story for those willing to see. "The lanterns of hope," Edward whispered, his voice soft, blending with the faint hum of the night. "They appear only to those who listen, who follow the compass, who notice the magic in small details." Clara inhaled deeply, the scent of snow, pine, and the distant harbour filling her senses. Each breath seemed to sharpen her awareness. The subtle creak of wooden shutters, the whisper of wind through bare branches, the distant murmur of voices from warm homes. She realised that every sound, every scent, every flicker of light was a thread in the city's quiet tapestry, waiting to be noticed and understood. She approached the first alleyway, where the lantern's glow formed an arch above the narrow path. Tiny motes of light shimmered in the air, almost like dust particles illuminated by a soft golden sun. Clara extended her hand, letting them drift through her fingers, feeling the faint warmth of their presence and the delicate energy that radiated from them. The compass pulsed more strongly, guiding her forward, and the brass star in her pocket hummed in quiet resonance. Edward's music wove through the alley, soft chords blending with the faint ringing of distant bells and the whisper of snowflakes settling on rooftops. Clara felt each vibration in her chest, a warmth spreading slowly as if the city itself were breathing alongside her. She realised that walking these alleys required attention, mindfulness, and a willingness to immerse herself fully in the subtle magic of the night. Ahead, a small wooden door caught her eye, tucked between two buildings as if it had been hidden on purpose. A soft glow escaped from its edges, illuminating the surrounding snow in gentle amber light. Clara approached, her steps slow and deliberate. The compass pulsed warmly, urging her closer, and she felt the familiar thrill of discovery, a sense that the ordinary world had opened a hidden doorway to the extraordinary. The door creaked softly as she pushed it open, revealing a tiny courtyard filled with lanterns, each one floating freely, suspended in mid-air. They drifted lazily, swaying as if caught in a slow, deliberate dance. Beneath them, a low fountain gurgled, the water sparkling in the lantern light and casting ripples of gold across the surrounding walls. The scent of pine, candle wax, and warm spices filled the air, creating a soothing, intimate atmosphere that wrapped around Clara like a soft blanket. A figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in deep green, carrying a lantern shaped like a delicate star. "Welcome," the figure whispered, their voice barely audible above the soft gurgle of the fountain. "Few find this alley, fewer still notice its magic. Tonight, you are both." Clara felt her pulse quicken, the compass thrumming in harmony. I think I'm ready," she whispered, letting the warmth of the star in her pocket anchor her. The figure nodded, raising their lantern high. The floating lights responded, drifting higher, circling gently, and forming patterns in the air. Clara noticed that each lantern seemed to carry a small memory whisper of hope, glowing softly as though infused with the intentions and wishes of those who had once passed through this hidden place. Edward strummed a soft chord on his guitar, the note resonating through the courtyard and mingling with the gentle hum of the lanterns. Clara felt the energy of the space pulse in her chest, a warmth spreading slowly, connecting her, the compass, the brass star, and the floating lights into a single, harmonious rhythm. The figure moved closer, gesturing toward a narrow path that led further into the hidden alleyways. "Follow the lights," they whispered. "Notice their subtle movements. Each one tells a story, a quiet miracle waiting for those who pay attention. Step softly, breathe slowly, and let the city reveal its hidden wonders." Clara nodded, stepping forward carefully, the lanterns drifting alongside her, illuminating the way with gentle, golden light. Each step revealed new details, etched patterns in the cobblestones, frost glittering on window panes, faint music carried from hidden rooms. Every sight, sound, and subtle movement felt heightened, like the world had expanded to include these small, magical moments that most would overlook. She walked slowly, allowing herself to notice the soft sway of a hanging lantern, the delicate sparkle of frost, the faint smell of baked bread drifting from a hidden doorway, the whisper of wind threading through the alley. Each sensation resonated deeply, making her feel fully alive, fully present, fully attuned to the hidden magic surrounding her. As the alleyways twisted and turned, Clara realized that the lanterns of hope were not simply lights. They were guides, teachers, and companions. They encouraged mindfulness, presence, and gentle curiosity, reminding her that the magic of Liverpool did not always announce itself with grandeur. Sometimes it was quiet, subtle, almost imperceptible, waiting for someone willing to see, hear, and feel. At the end of the first alley, a small square opened up, lanterns floating above it in a gentle spiral. In the centre, a low stone bench glowed faintly, and Clara noticed tiny figures moving along the edges of the square. Children playing, cats stretching, tiny glimpses of life that seemed to flicker like starlight. Each one pulsed softly in time with her compass, creating a subtle rhythm she could feel in her chest. Edward strummed a final, soft chord, letting it echo and fade into the night. The lanterns pulsed in response, a gentle acknowledgement of Clara's presence, her attention, and her openness to the magic around her. She felt a profound sense of connection, as if the entire city, every street, building, and alley had paused to welcome her into its quiet, hidden heart. Clara followed the gentle spiral of lanterns deeper into the hidden alleyways, each step deliberate, each breath mindful. The snow beneath her boots muffled her footsteps, creating an almost sacred silence. The compass pulsed steadily in her hand, guiding her toward the next secret the city wished to reveal. Edward's guitar strummed softly, the chords blending with the faint chime of distant bells and the whispering wind. Around a corner, Clara glimpsed a small gathering. An elderly man with a long scarf, a young girl with a basket of flowers, and a black cat perched silently on a ledge, all They seemed unaware of her presence, yet their movements carried a gentle, deliberate magic, as if each gesture and glance were part of an unspoken ritual. The elderly man turned his gaze, noticing Clara and Edward. A faint smile curved his lips. "The lanterns choose who they reveal themselves to," he said softly, voice barely above a whisper. "Walk slowly, notice carefully, and you may see what most miss." Clara nodded, feeling the compass warm in. Her hand, its pulse in perfect rhythm with the distant toll of the lighthouse bell. She stepped closer, letting the soft glow of the lanterns illuminate the scene. The young girl offered a single flower, its petals dusted with snow. Clara reached out, feeling the delicate texture and a subtle warmth emanating from it, like the quiet heartbeat of the city itself. Edward strummed a chord, and the black cat lifted its head, eyes gleaming like tiny lanterns themselves. It stepped gracefully from the ledge and moved silently between the lanterns, weaving through the light in a mesmerizing dance. Clara realized that every element, the people, the animals, the objects, even the light and shadow, was part of a living, breathing pattern of hidden magic. The alleyway narrowed, guiding Clara and Edward toward a small courtyard. Here, the lanterns floated freely, drifting like fireflies in a slow, deliberate spiral. Tiny sparks of light flickered between them, forming delicate threads that connected each lantern, each figure, and even the falling snowflakes. Clara extended her hand, feeling the faint warmth of the threads as they brushed her fingers, pulsing gently in harmony with the compass. A figure emerged from the shadows, a seamstress, her hands nimble as she wove delicate threads of light into tiny patterns that floated above her loom. "Every thread tells a story," she whispered. "Every knot holds a memory, every shimmer a hope. Pay attention, and the city will reveal its hidden heart." Clara watched in awe as the threads twisted and turned, forming shapes that reflected moments she had already encountered. The hidden market, the brass star, the compass, and the lighthouse. Each thread pulsed in subtle rhythm, carrying whispers of laughter, warmth, and quiet joy. She realized that these alleys, these lanterns, and these people were not merely magical. They were vessels of memory and intention, carefully preserved. For those who noticed, the elderly man motioned toward a narrow archway at the far end of the courtyard. "Follow the light," he said. "There you will witness the lantern's true purpose, a quiet miracle that few ever see." Clara stepped forward, Edward beside her, and the compass pulsed stronger than ever. The alley twisted and opened into a hidden square, the lanterns forming a spiral above, floating freely like golden stars suspended in the night. Each lantern carried a subtle glow, illuminating the faces of small children playing, cats stretching, and couples whispering softly to one another. The air was filled with a delicate hum, a resonance that seemed to flow from every object, person, and snowflake in perfect harmony. In the centre of the square, a low stone fountain glimmered, the water reflecting the lanterns in a kaleidoscope of gold and amber. Clara noticed that each ripple carried a soft, pulsing light, echoing the rhythm of the compass and the brass star. remind you of the city's subtle magic, the quiet miracles hidden in small gestures, and the importance of noticing. Clara accepted the thread, feeling it hum softly, warm and alive in her hand. Edward strummed a gentle chord, and the entire square seemed to respond. The lanterns swayed, the snowflakes shimmered, and even the faint sounds of distant streets harmonized in a delicate symphony. Clara felt a wave of serenity, a profound connection to the city, and a deep understanding of the magic she had encountered. The elderly man spoke again, voice barely above a whisper. The lanterns of hope exist to guide, to teach, and to reveal. They show the hidden patterns, the delicate threads, and the quiet miracles that surround those who are present and attentive. Tonight, you have walked with awareness. You have noticed. You have participated. That is their gift. Clara exhaled, slowly, letting the warmth of the compass, the brass star, and the glowing thread settle into her being. She realised that the magic of Liverpool was not confined to the lighthouse, the hidden market, or the alleyways. It lived in her attention, her curiosity, and her willingness to notice the subtleties of the world around her. The lanterns pulsed, gently, as if acknowledging her presence. Snowflakes drifted lazily through the golden light, brushing her cheeks with delicate coolness. Edward strummed a final chord, letting it fade into the night, leaving only the soft, rhythmic tolling of the distant lighthouse bell. Clara smiled softly. She understood, more deeply than ever, that the magic of Liverpool's hidden places was not about grandeur or spectacle. It was about mindfulness, presence, and the quiet, radiant beauty in small, ordinary moments. And she was now part of that rhythm, that heartbeat, and that luminous story. Clara stepped into the centre of the hidden square, her eyes following the gentle spiral of lanterns drifting above. Each lantern pulsed softly with warm golden light, creating intricate patterns across the snow-covered cobblestones. The air was thick with the faint scent of pine, candle wax, and winter spice, mingling with the subtle hum of magic that seemed to vibrate from every corner of the square. Edward strummed a slow, deliberate chord on his guitar. The sound echoed softly against the surrounding walls, blending perfectly with the gentle swaying of the lanterns. Clara felt the pulse of the compass synchronize with each note, a steady rhythm resonating through her chest. The brass star in her pocket glowed warmly, as if echoing the heartbeat of the city itself. From the shadows, the elderly man stepped forward again, holding a lantern shaped like a delicate crescent moon. Tonight, he whispered, you will witness the lantern's true gift. Watch closely, listen carefully, and open your heart to the rhythm of the hidden city. Clara exhaled slowly, letting the warmth and pulse of the compass anchor her. She noticed the floating lanterns forming gentle arcs above her, moving in patterns that seemed deliberate, choreographed by an unseen hand. Each lantern carried a tiny glow, a whisper of hope, a quiet memory, or a soft intention. They swirled above, below, and around her, forming a living tapestry of light and motion that drew her deeper into the magic of the night. The child from the previous alley stepped forward, holding watched as the light from the child's lantern stretched into thin threads, weaving between the floating lights above, connecting each lantern to the others, forming intricate networks of glowing paths. Each thread pulsed softly, harmonizing with the compass and the distant tolling of the lighthouse bell. Edward's music shifted into a gentle arpeggio, each note resonating through the courtyard and carrying the motion of the threads higher into the air. Clara felt herself lifted with the rhythm, the warmth of the brass star and the pulsing compass amplifying her connection to the lanterns. Each thread seemed alive, delicate but purposeful, carrying whispers of laughter, kindness and quiet miracles from unseen places across the city. The elderly man's voice returned, calm and steady. The lanterns of hope are guides. They reveal paths, patterns and connections that exist but remain unseen to most. Tonight they reveal their fullest form to those who notice, who participate and who care. Clara stepped lightly, letting her gaze follow the movement of the lanterns. She noticed tiny details she had overlooked before. The soft glint of frost on the edges of the cobblestones, the way snowflakes twisted in the lantern light, the gentle ripple of water in the fountain, reflecting the glowing threads above. Every detail pulsed with quiet magic, a symphony of subtle wonders that wove together to form a tapestry larger than herself or the square. Suddenly, the lanterns began to rise higher, moving faster, weaving above the square in spirals and arcs that mirrored the pulse of Clara's compass. The threads connecting them glowed brighter, carrying whispers of hope and memories of kindness, laughter and quiet courage. Clara felt a wave of awe wash over her. The warmth of the compass, brass star and lantern threads saturating her being. The child with the lanterns lifted them high, and the golden threads stretched outward, connecting the square to the alleyways, the hidden market, the lighthouse, and even the distant streets of Liverpool. Clara realised that the entire city, every hidden corner, and every subtle miracle she had witnessed that night were connected through these luminous threads. Each act of noticing, each small gesture of care, had contributed to this magnificent, quiet tapestry of magic. Edward strummed one final chord, letting the sound linger, soft but resonant. The lanterns pulsed with the rhythm, spinning and twirling in perfect harmony, and then slowly descended to hover just above the cobblestones. The gentle spirals of light settled into a glowing pattern that seemed to map the hidden alleyways, the paths of hope, and the silent currents of magic running through the city. Clara knelt, feeling the warmth of the threads brushing against her fingers, the pulse of the compass steadying her heart. She understood, fully and completely, that this was the essence of the lanterns of hope, quiet, subtle, woven into the fabric of the city, awaiting those willing to notice, listen, and participate. The elderly man stepped closer, placing his hand lightly on Clara's shoulder. "Remember this night," he said softly. "The city speaks in threads, in light, in whispers, and in small miracles. Keep your heart open, your senses alive, and the magic will follow you wherever you go. Tonight, you have seen what few ever do." Clara exhaled, letting the warmth, pulse, and golden light settle into her being. She felt a deep connection to the city, to the hidden alleyways, the market, the lighthouse, and all the small miracles she had witnessed. The compass pulsed gently in her hand. The brass star glimmered warmly, and the floating threads of the lanterns seemed to vibrate in harmony with her heartbeat as she rose to her feet. The lanterns drifted higher once more, forming a final, slow spiral before settling into clusters along the alleyways and hidden squares, leaving a gentle, luminous trail for any future wanderers who might come seeking magic. Clara felt a profound sense of gratitude and serenity, knowing that she had been part of a living story, a quiet miracle, and a luminous thread in Liverpool's hidden tapestry. Edward strummed a soft, lingering chord as they walked slowly out of the square, the snow crunching beneath their boots. The compass pulsed steadily, guiding them onward to the next adventure, the next hidden miracle, the next whispered story waiting in the magical city of Liverpool. Clara smiled softly, eyes just senses alive, her heart full, and her awareness tuned to every subtle magic the night had yet to reveal. Chapter 6. The Whispering Clock Tower and the Foggy Streets. Part 1. The night had deepened into a quiet, velvety darkness as Clara and Edward stepped from the golden glow of the lanterns of hope into the fog-laden streets of Liverpool. Snow had thinned to soft patches along the cobblestones, and each step released a muted crunch that echoed gently through the still air. The city seemed different in the fog, as though the ordinary world had been replaced by a living dream. The compass pulsed warmly in Clara's hand, guiding her attention to a distant silhouette rising above the rooftops, the old clock tower. Its hands were frozen at a mysterious hour, yet from within came a faint, whispering hum, soft but insistent. Clara felt the pulse of the compass quicken, resonating with the subtle rhythm of the tower, and the brass star in her pocket seemed to vibrate in quiet harmony. Edward strummed a slow, deliberate chord on his guitar, the notes stretching into the fog and mingling with the soft hum of the clock tower. Clara inhaled the crisp night air, tasting the faint scent of snow, smoke, and distant pine, and felt her senses heighten. Every sound, the whisper of wind through chimneys, the faint clatter of a distant cart, the soft steps of a wandering cat, became vivid and distinct. The narrow streets twisted like hidden veins through the city. Street lamps flickered in the fog, casting long, trembling shadows that danced on the cobblestones. Clara noticed small details she had never seen before. A faded mural partially covered in frost, a tiny brass key hanging from a hook in a doorway, a window glowing faintly with warm light. Each detail seemed alive, pulsing with quiet magic, and the compass guided her to linger, to observe, to notice. As they approached the base of the clock tower, the whispering grew louder, more distinct. It was as if the tower itself was speaking, its voice carried by the fog, urging Clara to listen carefully. Edward strummed a chord that mirrored the whispering rhythm, each note vibrating softly through the soles of her boots and the stones beneath her feet. A narrow doorway at the base of the clock tower beckoned. Clara stepped forward, the fog curling around her like a living veil. Inside, the air was warmer, tinged with the scent of old wood, dust, and a faint metallic tang. The spiral staircase stretched upward, winding tightly, as if the building itself were guiding her ascent. Each step creaked softly, echoing in harmony with the whispers of the tower and the gentle thrum of the compass. Halfway up, Clara paused, pressing a hand against the cool stone wall. Tiny particles of dust floated in the dim lantern light, catching the glow and shimmering like suspended stars. She felt a deep calm, a sense of connection to the city below and the mysterious magic of the tower. The whispers became clearer, almost forming words, gentle and soft, like a lullaby woven from wind and stone. Edward strummed a few delicate notes, and Clara realised that the music and the whispers were intertwined, two threads forming a single, subtle rhythm. She followed it upward, step by step, until they reached the clock chamber. The room was vast, with high ceilings and massive gears frozen mid-motion. Moonlight filtered through the tall windows, casting silver patterns across the floor. Dust motes drifted lazily in the shafts of light, swirling gently with the vibrations of the whispering. Clara noticed that each gear, pendulum, and beam seemed infused with a faint inner glow, pulsing softly in rhythm with the compass. From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in deep grey, their face hidden beneath a hood. They held a lantern shaped like a crescent moon, its light casting soft arcs across the gears. "Welcome," the figure whispered, voice merging seamlessly with the hum of the tower. "Few climb the stairs, and few hear the clock's secrets. You, Clara, have been chosen to listen. Tonight, the whispers will reveal the hidden stories of time, magic, and the city's heartbeat." Clara felt a thrill of anticipation. She stepped closer to the centre of the chamber, letting the warm pulse of the compass guide her. The brass star in her pocket glimmered faintly, amplifying the subtle light of the lantern. She noticed patterns in the shadows, threads of light connecting gears, windows, and walls, forming delicate, intricate designs. Every detail seemed purposeful, alive, and attuned to her presence. Edward strummed another chord, a gentle cascade that echoed in the cavernous chamber. Clara felt the vibrations in her chest, spreading through her arms and fingertips. The whispers of the clock tower coalesced into a rhythm she could feel, soft and deliberate, like a heartbeat shared between the city and its attentive observer. As some cloaked figure gestured toward the massive clock face, through the glass, the foggy streets of Liverpool stretched below, lit by faint lanterns and scattered windows. Clara noticed subtle movements she had never seen, figures pausing in doorways, cats slipping silently across rooftops, the gentle sway of branches in the wind. Each movement pulsed in harmony with the compass and the whispers, forming a living tableau of the city's hidden magic. The figure spoke again, voice soft and melodic. "Time magic. The whispers are the city's story, and tonight you are part of it. Clara exhaled slowly, letting the resonance settle into her chest. The clock tower, the foggy streets below, the whispers, the compass, the brass star, and the golden glow of the lanterns above formed a tapestry she could feel with her entire being. Every small detail, every subtle motion, every gentle sound carried meaning, and she understood that to be present, to notice, and to participate was to unlock the hidden magic of Liverpool. Clara descended carefully from the clock chamber, each step echoing softly in the spiral staircase. The whispers of the tower followed her, shifting subtly as if guiding her movements, blending with the faint strum of Edward's guitar. She felt the pulse of the compass synchronize with the rhythm of the whispers, the brass star in her pocket glowing warmly, amplifying the sense of connection. Exiting the tower, the fog-laden streets stretched before her like a living labyrinth. Lanterns flickered in the mist, casting delicate shadows on the cobblestones. Clara noticed movement in the fog, a cloaked figure gliding silently along a side street, a black cat weaving between snow-dusted benches, a child's laughter echoing faintly from an unseen doorway. Each sound, each motion seemed purposeful, a subtle invitation to observe closely. The streets themselves are alive tonight, Edward whispered, strumming a slow, resonant chord. Every alley, every corner, every shadow tells a story. The clock tower whispers, but the streets speak. Listen, Clara. She inhaled deeply, the crisp night air tinged with pine, snow, and a faint metallic note from distant machinery. Each step she took revealed tiny miracles. Frost forming intricate patterns on window panes, a lantern's glow catching on icicles like prisms, the rhythmic clatter of distant wheels over cobblestones. Her senses were heightened, every detail vibrant, each subtle sound amplified in the silence of the fog. Ahead, a narrow alley opened into a hidden square. Lanterns floated above like suspended stars, casting a soft golden glow on the snow-covered ground. Figures moved within, an elderly man sweeping gently, a woman arranging small candles on windowsills, a group of children weaving tiny threads of light through the air. Clara realized that each person was contributing to a hidden, magical symphony of the city, their actions subtle but profoundly significant. A young boy stepped forward, holding a lantern shaped like a crescent moon. As he moved, threads of golden light stretched from the lantern, connecting the people, the lanterns, and even the drifting snowflakes. The threads pulsed softly, harmonizing with the compass in Clara's hand and the faint whispers of the clock tower. She extended a hand, feeling the delicate warmth of a thread brushing her fingertips, a subtle vibration resonating through her chest. Edward strummed a soft arpeggio, each note echoing in the alley, blending seamlessly with the whispers and the pulse of the threads. Clara felt as if the city itself were breathing, its rhythm woven through every sound, every shimmer of light, and every subtle motion. Each detail pulsed with hidden meaning, a quiet magic that few would ever which now unfolded before her in vivid clarity. The cloaked figure from the clock tower appeared again, this time leading Clara toward a low stone arch at the edge of the square. "The whispers guide you," the figure said softly. "Through fog and shadow, through lantern, light and snow, the city reveals its secrets to those who notice. Walk carefully, observe deeply, and you will see the hidden stories waiting for you." Clara followed, her steps slow, deliberate and attentive. The fog shifted around her, curling into shapes that resembled fleeting images. A cat stretching, a child's hand reaching for a star-shaped lantern, the faint outline of a clock's gears reflected in a puddle. Each vision pulsed with subtle magic, disappearing and reappearing like fragments of a dream, yet all part of a coherent, living tapestry. The alleyway twisted and opened into another courtyard, smaller and cosier, its lanterns hanging low, casting golden arcs across the snow. Clara noticed small details that had escaped her attention before. Tiny footprints in the snow that glimmered faintly, a ribbon fluttering gently in a draught, faint musical notes seeming to drift from nowhere, carrying the echo of Edward's guitar. A group of children appeared, forming a delicate circle around a small fountain. They were weaving threads of light between each other, creating intricate patterns that danced and shimmered in the lantern glow. Clara knelt beside them, the compass pulsing in her hand, and gently touched a thread. Warmth spread through her, fingers radiating into her chest, and she realized that each action, no matter how small, contributed to the hidden magic of the city. Edward strummed again, this time harmonizing with the gentle swirls of light. Clara felt the rhythm of the threads, the pulse of the compass, and the whispers of the clock tower merge into a single coherent pattern. The fog around her seemed to shimmer in response, revealing glimpses of hidden doors, narrow passageways, and tiny alcoves where subtle miracles unfolded quietly in the night. The cloaked figure spoke again, voice soft and melodic. "The magic of Liverpool exists in connection, in observation, in presence. The clock tower whispers, the lanterns guide, and the streets speak. Those who notice, who feel, who participate, carry the city's hidden story in their hearts." Clara exhaled, letting the warmth of the threads, the compass, and the brass star fill her being. She understood fully that the hidden stories were not mere visions. They were invitations to participate, to weave, to notice, to contribute to the living magic of Liverpool. The children's circle dissolved slowly, the lanterns drifting upward, threads of light connecting every corner of the courtyard, forming intricate patterns in the fog. Clara watched, mesmerized, feeling the rhythm, the pulse, the quiet heartbeat of the city. She realized that each step she had taken that night, the lighthouse, the lanterns of hope, the clock tower, the alleyways, was part of a continuous thread of subtle magic, waiting for attentive hearts to follow. As Edward strummed one final, soft chord, the threads of light pulsed gently, then settled into delicate patterns, glowing softly in the fog. The whispers of the clock tower faded to a gentle murmur, and Clara felt a serene, profound sense of connection to the city, its hidden stories, a soft, swirling curtain. The faint glow of lanterns shimmered through the mist, casting elongated shadows that danced on the cobblestones. The compass pulsed steadily in her hand, guiding her like a heartbeat, and the brass star in her pocket thrummed in quiet resonance. The whispers of the clock tower had grown faint, replaced by subtle, melodic tones that seemed to emerge from the fog itself. Each sound was delicate, a soft footstep on cobblestones, the rustle of fabric, the gentle flutter of a bird's wings. Yet combined, they formed a symphony that vibrated through Clara's chest. Every detail felt alive, each subtle motion infused with hidden magic. Ahead, the alley widened into a small square, where lanterns floated freely, swaying gently in the mist. Clara noticed tiny threads of golden light weaving between them, connecting, lamp to lamp, person to person, even drifting snowflakes. She reached out, feeling the warmth of the light brush her fingers, pulsing softly in harmony with the compass. A new figure emerged, a musician seated on a low stone wall, cradling a small violin. Their bow moved slowly, drawing out a haunting melody that intertwined with Edward's guitar and the faint hum of the fog. Clara felt the resonance in her chest, a warmth spreading through her arms and fingertips. The threads of light pulsed with each note, forming delicate arcs that connected every corner of the square. Children appeared silently, weaving between the lanterns, their small hands threading golden light into intricate patterns above the cobblestones. A black cat leapt gracefully from the edge of the fountain, brushing against Clara's leg before moving into the mist. Each movement, each sound, each glimmer of light added to the living tapestry of magic surrounding her. The cloaked figure from the clock tower stepped forward, voice barely above a whisper. This is the city's heart, revealed to those who notice. Every thread, every shadow, every note is part of a story. Step lightly, breathe slowly, and let the magic embrace you. Clara closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the symphony of sounds, lights, and movements envelop her. The pulse of the compass synchronized with the rhythm of the lanterns, the violin, Edward's guitar, and even the soft crunch of snow beneath her boots. Each element resonated as part of a larger, hidden pattern, and she felt herself a part of it, woven into the city's quiet, luminous heart. As she opened her eyes, the lanterns shifted, forming gentle spirals above the square. The threads of the light stretched outward, connecting the fountain, the musicians, the children, and the drifting snowflakes. Clara realized that the city's magic was not just in individual moments, but in the connections, the subtle interplay of attention, presence, and gentle observation. Edward strummed a final soft chord, letting it linger in the fog. The threads of light pulsed once more, then settled into intricate, glowing patterns along the cobblestones and walls. The violinist's bow stilled, and a hush fell over the square. Clara felt a profound serenity, a sense of deep connection to the city, its hidden stories, and the quiet miracles she had witnessed throughout the night. The cloaked figure stepped closer, placing a hand gently on Clara's shoulder. "Remember," they whispered, The magic exists in noticing, in listening, in participating. You carry tonight's story with you. Let it guide your steps, your attention and your heart. The city will always reveal its hidden wonders to those who are present. Clara exhaled slowly, letting the warmth of the threads, the pulse of the compass, and the glow of the brass star settle into her being. She felt a deep gratitude, a quiet joy, and a renewed awareness of the subtle magic woven into every corner of the city. Snowflakes drifted lazily through the lantern light, brushing her cheeks and settling softly on her coat. The violinist's melody seemed to linger in the fog, a gentle echo of the night's magic, while the threads of light shimmered faintly, a reminder that the city's hidden wonders were always there, waiting for attentive eyes, open hearts, and curious souls. Edward strummed a final note, soft and resonant. Clara watched the fog swirl gently around the square, the lanterns pulsing in quiet harmony, and realised that tonight was not just a journey. It was a lesson in presence, observation, and the quiet, luminous beauty hidden in the ordinary world. She smiled softly, taking a deep, mindful breath. The compass pulsed warmly in her hand. The brass star glimmered faintly, and the city whispered its secrets through the fog, the lanterns, and the subtle symphony of sounds around her. Clara knew that the hidden magic of Liverpool would continue to reveal itself, thread by thread, to anyone willing to notice, to listen and participate in its quiet, radiant rhythm. Chapter 7: The Frosted Bridge and the Midnight Market. Part 1. The fog clung thickly to Liverpool's streets, softening the outlines of buildings and muting distant sounds. Clara followed Edward along the cobblestones, the compass pulsing gently in her hand, guiding her toward a faint golden glow in the distance. The brass star in her pocket hummed softly, syncing with the pulse of the lanterns she glimpsed ahead. Ahead, the frosted bridge arched gracefully over the icy waters of the Mersey. Its surface sparkled under the faint glow of lanterns strung along the railing, and frost glittered like delicate diamonds on the cobblestones. Clara slowed her steps, taking in the serene beauty. The bridge seemed suspended between reality and dream, each detail amplified by the quiet magic of the night. Edward strummed a slow, melodic chord. The sound resonated through the mist, vibrating faintly beneath Clara's feet and blending with the soft trickle of the river below. Each note seemed to awaken subtle movements in the fog. Shadows shifted, snowflakes twirled lazily, and the faint glimmer of light danced across the frost-covered stones. As they reached the centre of the bridge, Clara noticed a subtle rhythm in the night, a gentle sway of lanterns, the distant creak of timbers, the soft gurgle of the river beneath. The whispers of the clock tower seemed to echo faintly in the distance, merging with the natural sounds of the bridge. Clara exhaled slowly, letting the subtle symphony fill her senses, each note a thread in the living tapestry of the city. From the mist emerged a figure carrying a small basket of glowing orbs. They moved with deliberate grace, each step precise, yet gentle. The orbs floated above the basket, pulsing softly trees. The midnight market awakens only for those who notice. Step lightly, breathe slowly, and let the city reveal its hidden wonders. Clara extended a hand toward the glowing orbs. As she touched one, warmth spread through her fingers and into her chest. The orb pulsed in perfect harmony with the compass and the brass star. She noticed threads of golden light stretching from the orb, connecting to other orbs, lanterns, and distant buildings along the bridge. Each thread vibrated softly, forming intricate patterns in the fog, guiding her attention to small, magical details she might otherwise miss. Edward strummed a soft chord, and the fog seemed to respond, swirling gently around them. Clara watched as tiny sparks of light formed patterns in the air, delicate spirals, arcs, and loops, all moving in quiet, deliberate harmony. The frosted bridge transformed before her eyes, revealing hidden alcoves, shimmering details etched into the railings, and tiny footprints of long-gone wanderers sparkling faintly in the frost. Ahead, the entrance to the midnight market emerged through the mist. Stores lined the narrow alleyway beyond the bridge, glowing softly with lantern light. Small figures moved quietly between them, arranging delicate trinkets, tiny magical objects, and subtle wonders meant for those who were observant. Each stall seemed infused with hidden purpose, every detail humming with quiet enchantment. Clara stepped forward, her senses alert, taking in the sight. A seamstress folding luminous fabrics that shimmered like the night sky. A baker arranging tiny pastries that glowed faintly. And a musician strumming a miniature harp whose notes shimmered in the mist. Every element pulsed softly in harmony with the compass and the brass star. She realized that this market, like the lanterns of hope and the clock tower, was a living manifestation of the city's hidden magic. The figure with the basket of glowing orbs gestured toward the first stall. "Notice," they whispered, "the small details, the subtle movements, the gentle whispers. Each object, each gesture carries a story, a hidden thread connecting the city, its people, and the magic that binds them." Clara stepped closer, allowing herself to be immersed fully. She reached for a tiny orb on the seamstress's stall, feeling warmth and subtle energy radiate through her fingers. The compass pulsed in response. The brass star glimmered faintly, and threads of light extended from the orb, connecting it to the lanterns, the frosted bridge, and the distant glow of the city beyond. Edward's soft guitar chords intertwined with the faint hum of the market, the gentle swish of snowflakes, and the whisper of the fog, creating a layered symphony of sound and sensation. Clara felt the rhythm of the city, the pulse of the hidden magic, and the connection between every object, every figure, and every subtle movement. She inhaled deeply, the crisp winter air mingling with the scents of pine, baked treats, and candle wax. Each detail resonated fully. The shimmer of frost, the glow of the lanterns, the soft movements of market goers, and the gentle vibrations from Edward's guitar. Clara understood fully that the midnight market, like the lanterns of hope and the whispering clock tower, was a manifestation of attention, presence, and mindful observation. The figure gestured once more, stepped softly, is woven from the subtle threads of life, waiting for those who walk with awareness. Clara nodded, stepping deeper into the market, feeling each thread of light, each pulse of energy, and each whisper of magic guide her through a world visible only to those who truly noticed. The frosted bridge behind her shimmered faintly in the fog, a quiet reminder that each step she took was part of a larger, luminous journey through Liverpool's hidden, magical night. Clara wandered deeper into the midnight market, her boots crunching softly against the frost-kissed cobblestones. Every step seemed to reveal subtle details. The flicker of lantern light on a tiny ornament, threads of golden light dancing between stalls, the faint rustle of fabric as figures moved silently. Each motion, each sound, each shimmer of colour pulsed gently in rhythm with the compass in her hand, as though the city itself were alive, breathing in harmony with her presence. She first noticed a stall glowing with a soft, bronze-coloured light. An elderly woman carefully arranged small glass orbs that emitted a gentle inner glow. "These spheres," the woman whispered, "hold the memories of those who walked these streets before you, those who noticed the small, quiet miracles, those who participated in the city's subtle magic. They live within these lights." Clara reached out, letting her fingers brush the surface of one orb. It was warm, almost alive, and she felt faint, pulses vibrating through her hand, in tune with the compass. Tiny whispers brushed her senses. A child's laughter, a cat slipping quietly along a rooftop, the faint strum of music from a distant alley. Each subtle moment seemed captured in the orb's glow, a delicate symphony of the city's hidden stories. Edward played a soft, rhythmic chord on his guitar, the notes vibrating through the cobblestones and blending with the warm glow of the orbs. The lights, the sounds, and the quiet movements of the market wove together into a living pattern. Clara felt her heartbeat sinking with the city, a gentle, steady pulse that seemed to emanate from the frost, the lanterns, and the glowing orbs. Alike, through a narrow passage, she discovered another stall filled with tiny metallic figures, each moving slowly on their own. Miniature bridges, houses, and street corners shimmered faintly in the lantern light. The figures moved with delicate precision, almost imperceptibly, yet each gesture carried a subtle life force. Clara realised these were miniature echoes of Liverpool itself, small, hidden moments preserved in motion for those willing to observe. From the shadows, a young boy appeared, cradling a tiny harp. His fingers plucked the strings with precision, creating a soft, haunting melody that danced in the fog and mingled with Edward's guitar. Clara watched as the miniature metal figures seemed to respond to the music, their tiny lights brightening and shimmering with each note. The intelligence and attention to fully perceive. The elderly woman behind the orbiter smiled softly at Clara. "Remember," she whispered, "the magic of Liverpool is woven in small gestures and careful observation. Every moment of noticing, every thoughtful step, threads itself into the city's living tapestry. The longer you pay attention, the brighter the threads become." Clara inhaled deeply, the crisp winter air tinged with pine, baked goods, and candle wax filling her lungs. She moved further into the market, touching a tiny orb on a stall shaped like a delicate snowflake. It pulsed warmly through her fingertips, sending a gentle shiver of energy up her arms and through her chest. The compass pulsed in rhythm with the orb, and the brass star in her pocket glimmered faintly, amplifying the soft light of the floating threads connecting the market, the frosted bridge, and the city beyond. Edward strummed a final, low chord. The lanterns swayed gently in response, the golden threads of light pulsing in time. Clara felt the rhythm of the city itself, a quiet heartbeat threading through every alleyway, every shadow, every soft sound of the foggy night. The city's magic was not in grand gestures, but in these subtle connections, these small, carefully observed miracles. She stopped at a small arched bridge, crossing a narrow canal. Frost glittered along the railings, and the soft glow of the lanterns reflected in the rippling water below. Threads of golden light from the market seemed to converge here, forming intricate patterns above the water's surface. Clara understood. This was the centre of tonight's hidden magic, where every careful observation and gentle interaction with the world converged into a living tapestry of light and warmth. From the mist, the figure carrying the glowing orbs returned, nodding to Clara with quiet approval. Each thread you followed, each moment you noticed, contributes to the city's hidden symphony. Take this rhythm with you, they whispered, and let it guide your eyes, your ears, your heart. Liverpool's magic exists for those willing to pay attention. Clara smiled, pressing her hand against the compass. Its warmth pulsed gently through her, in harmony with the brass star. She was fully aware that the night still had hours to unfold, yet in this moment she felt profoundly connected to the city, to the subtle miracles, and to the living magic she had walked through. The children of the market slowly dispersed, carrying tiny threads of glowing light with them, leaving behind delicate arcs of gold in the mist. Clara traced her fingers along one of the threads, feeling the gentle vibration and warmth, as if the entire city whispered its secrets to her personally. She realised that the midnight market, like the lanterns of hope and the whispering clock tower, existed as a living, breathing expression of attention, presence, and mindful observation. Snowflakes drifted lazily through the lantern light, brushing her cheeks and dusting the frosted bridge with silver-white sparkles. Edward's soft chord lingered in the air, the threads of light pulsing once more before settling into delicate, glowing patterns. Clara exhaled, letting the rhythm, the warmth, and the quiet energy of Liverpool settle into her entire being. She felt a serene sense of gratitude, a quiet joy, and the understanding understanding that magic was not something distant or unreachable. It was woven into every careful glance, every soft sound, every subtle pulse of life around her. The city's hidden wonders, illuminated by the midnight market, whispered to her in threads of light, soft music and delicate frost. Clara took a deep breath, grounding herself in the soft glow of lanterns and the warmth of the compass. The last night was still long, and more secrets awaited, but she knew that each small observation, each gentle step, carried her deeper into Liverpool's quiet, luminous magic. The frosted bridge and the midnight market were only one layer of a city, alive with subtle wonders, and she was ready to follow every thread of light and sound that called to her in the misty, magical night. Clara stood in the centre of the frosted bridge, the midnight mist curling around her like a soft, living veil. Lanterns floated gently above, their golden light reflecting on the icy cobblestones, casting shimmering arcs across the fog. Every thread of light, every whisper of sound, every faint vibration pulsing from the compass in her hand seemed amplified in the quiet night. She felt fully alive to each subtle detail, the frosted railing, the glittering water below, the delicate shimmer of snowflakes drifting past her face. Edward strummed a slow, reverent chord on his guitar. The sound resonated through the bridge, blending with the soft hum of the midnight market behind them, the whispers of the clock tower fading into the distance. Clara felt the pulse of the city beneath her feet, through the threads of golden light, connecting the market, the lanterns, and the fog-shrouded streets. Every note, every flicker of light seemed to speak directly to her heartbeat. From the shadows, the figure with the glowing orbs emerged, holding a lantern that pulsed in perfect rhythm with Clara's compass. The golden threads of the orbs stretched outward, weaving through the fog, looping around the lanterns, the frosted bridge, and even across the water to the distant lights of the city. Clara reached out, letting her fingers trace one of the threads. Warmth spread from her fingertips, filling her chest, her arms, and even her legs, as if the city itself had reached out to embrace her. The fog seemed to respond to her presence, swirling gently, revealing hidden details that had been invisible moments before. Tiny footprints sparkling faintly in the frost, a ribbon fluttering gently along the railing, soft movements in distant windows where unseen figures paused to notice. The night, each detail pulsed with subtle magic, an invitation to participate, to feel, to be fully present. Edward's chords deepened, creating a resonance that vibrated through the mist. The golden threads of light intertwined with the soft music, forming spirals and arcs that rose above the bridge and cascaded down like liquid light. Clara's eyes followed the movements, mesmerized, tracing each luminous thread as it weaved through the air, through the fog, through the hidden stories of Liverpool. Children from the midnight market appeared quietly, carrying tiny lanterns that pulsed in perfect harmony with the threads. They moved gracefully, forming delicate patterns on the frost-covered stones, their small hands weaving the light Clara stepped into the circle of light, feeling herself woven into the tapestry, the compass in, her hand pulsing as if in response to her own heartbeat. The cloaked figure spoke softly, voice carrying on the misty air. Tonight, the city's magic is fully alive. Every observation, every gentle gesture, every thread of light has contributed to this living story. Watch, listen, feel, and remember. This magic exists wherever hearts are open, wherever eyes notice the unseen, and wherever footsteps tread lightly. Clara exhaled slowly, letting the warmth, the glow, and the subtle vibrations of the city fill her being. She felt a profound sense of connection to Liverpool, to the hidden alleyways, the lanterns, the clock tower, and the midnight market. Each thread she had followed, each detail she had noticed, formed a part of a larger story, one that pulsed, shimmered, and breathed in quiet harmony with the city itself. The threads of light rose higher, forming a glowing spiral above the bridge, connecting the lanterns, the orbs, and even the distant street lamps beyond the market. Clara felt as though she could see the entire city laid out in delicate filaments of magic, each one a story, a whisper, a hidden moment of kindness or wonder. The threads pulsed in time with Edward's music, the soft whispers of the fog, and the rhythm of her own heartbeat, creating a symphony that was at once delicate and immense. Snowflakes drifted lazily around her, catching the golden light, each one reflecting countless tiny glimmers of hidden stories. Clara reached out and let a snowflake land on her palm. It pulsed with warmth and dissolved into threads of light that merged seamlessly with the patterns above the bridge. She realized that every small action, the noticing of a detail, the gentle act of participation, added to the city's living magic, weaving it tighter, brighter, more beautiful. The figure with the orbs lifted one high, sending a cascade of threads flowing outward. The lanterns, the market, the bridge, and even the clock tower lights responded, pulsing and swirling in synchronized patterns. Clara felt a quiet elation, a deep peace, and a radiant connection to the rhythm of the city. She understood that this night, this journey, was a gift, a reminder that magic is found in subtlety, in attention, in presence. Edward strummed the final chord, letting the resonance linger. The threads of light settled gently on the frosted bridge, on the railings, on the lanterns, and along the snow-covered stones, forming a delicate, glowing mosaic. The fog softened. The whispers faded to a gentle murmur, and Clara felt the warmth of the compass and the brass star in her pocket steady her heart. The cloaked figure stepped forward one last time. "Carry this rhythm with you," they whispered. "Notice, participate, and remember. The city will always whisper its stories to those who are willing to see, hear, and feel." Clara took a deep breath, the crisp winter air mingling with the soft glow of lanterns and threads of light. She smiled softly, her senses fully alive, knowing that Liverpool's hidden magic would always be with her, woven into every quiet street, every shadowed alley, every frost-tipped railing, and every gentle whisper of the wind. The children dispersed, quietly, the lanterns drifting upward, threads beams of light remaining as gentle reminders of the night's magic. Clara lingered for a moment, feeling the pulse of the city, the warmth of the threads, and the deep sense of connection to all the hidden stories she had witnessed. Then, with one last glance at the frosted bridge, she stepped forward, carrying the rhythm, the light, and the subtle magic into the quiet, waiting streets of Liverpool. The night stretched on, calm and serene, the whispers, lights, and threads of magic lingering gently, a quiet promise to all who would notice, all who would participate, and all who would carry the gentle wonder of the city in their hearts. The end, a whispered magical Christmas in 1968, Liverpool.